This is Geek News Central. My name is Todd Cochran, and the stories that lead today's show are as follows. Check in at the airlines with your face. We're going to talk about the WannaCry ransomware stuff. We're going to talk about Nevada pushing for a higher level of privacy for its citizens. We're going to talk about 17 years of car crashes. And probably the most interesting story of the day, the Gizmodo phishing and their potential violation of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, the CFAA. Of course, plus all the news of today, and of course, we're going to talk about 1,200 episodes. I want to welcome you to episode 1,200 of the Geek News Center podcast for Monday, May 15th. This show is sponsored in part by GoDaddy.com and listeners just like you. Great deals from GoDaddy can be found at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. You can support this show today at geeknewscentral.com/insider or simply paypal.me/geeknews. You can pick up Ohana gear at cafepress.com/Ohana store. Hey, I want to give a warm welcome to the audience. Thanks for being with me tonight. If you're live, if you're checking the show out later, yes, this is episode 1,200, another milestone of the podcast. Absolutely thrilled to hit this. Can you believe it? We've been at this 12 plus years, and then October of this year we'll make 13. It's really incredible. It really is. It's been a wild ride. But if you're brand new to the show tonight, you're going to get a little bit of a history lesson about the podcast, not too much per se. We'll save that to the 13th anniversary. But we want to make sure that you get over to geeknewscentral.com. And when you're over there, check out all the great content on the website. And our writers over there are doing a great job putting content up. We want you to get subscribed. You can do that right on the side of the website via iTunes, Android, via email, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, or via standard RSS feed a little bit further down the page. It's a place to grab the ability to just sign up for the newsletter. That link's there as well. So definitely check that out. And again, get over to geeknewscentral.com and visit the website and get connected with the Ohana here. If you have comments about today's show, feel free to email me, geeknews@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter @geeknews. Of course, you can join our Slack channel, Chit Chat channel, by sending me an email saying I want to be part of the Slack channel. You can follow me on Google Plus or Facebook just by searching for my name. You can watch this show on the Roku via the Tech Podcast channel or on your Apple TV just by searching for the show's name. You can listen on the Amazon Echo by telling Alexa to play the latest edition of this show's name. You can listen on Stitcher, watch or listen on Blueberry.com, or tell your Google Home device to play the podcast Geek News Central. Partner shows include Know Better Than Average with Jacob and Jeff, the Gadget Professor with Mr. Don Bain, the Pro Gear site, and the GNC team. Oh, that's funny. Google was listening in. Of course, you can check out Podcast Legends and the new media show, all available via geeknewscentral.com. Of course, we've been at this for a long time, and it would not be possible to continue to do the things that I do, bring the content that I bring you, be able to continue to try to push the upper edge of this medium without our good sponsor, and that is the longest running continuous sponsor of our podcast, that is GoDaddy.com. And we want you to take time to get over to geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy and check out all the promo codes, all the deals that are available there. 30% off of new product purchases, 99cent.coms, $1 a month economy hosting with a free domain, $1 a month for the first year, that is, $12, or $1 a month for a managed WordPress hosting for the first year with a free domain. Of course, you can get 1 month free trial of GoDaddy Website Builder, your choice of personal, business, or business plus plans. All my codes are on the website. The best thing to do is go over there and click the link, or when you're in checkout, don't forget to enter the code before you hit the checkout button. That way you lock things in. If you're picking up a hosting account, keep an eye. They will try to lock you in for 2 or 3 years. from the very, very get-go. So when you get to that checkout counter where it shows you the terms, you can change that to 12 months, and that way you'll absolutely get that introductory offer to make sure that the site that you're trying to launch is done at a price that I am advertising here. And at the same time, you can experiment around, see if it's a site that's going to work over the next year. But we want to thank GoDaddy for being here for really pretty much the entire time. They came on board in July of '05. We started the show in October of '04. So really, they've been here almost from the beginning, and I am forever grateful for what they do for this podcast and allowing me to, basically have the funds to do what we do. So keep the lights on, keep the family fed, keep gas in the car, the insurance paid up, all that stuff. So unlike some of the shows, which I know have a value for value proposition, where the show is completely supported by listener donations, this show has a insider component where if you want to support the show with a $2, $5, $10, $15, $20, or $25 a month contribution, you can do that at geeknewscentral.com/insider. And we definitely want to recognize all our insiders for supporting the show all this time. And that many of you are on the 25, or there's several of you, not many of you, several of you are on the $25 a month plan. And you keep track of your accounting to make sure that you let me know when you're at that $1,000 level. We want to make sure that I recognize you when you hit that point. I can easily lose track of what's going on. So please do that. All right, today's a big show. Today's 1200. We've been working and marching towards this at a steady pace. Really, from the beginning of the year, my goal was to put more shows in the can this year. We've fell a little bit behind because in the early years, we were putting 100 episodes on every year, no problem. And we're a little bit behind that curve now. But at this point in the game, it really, this juncture, I have to take a break once in a while. And when I travel, that's an opportunity for me to get a break. But this travel I have coming up in June, there will be shows that'll be produced. There may be one or two that are missed, but I'm hoping to have a regular full schedule. I'm on my next travel in June. Just give you guys a little bit of update here, a little bit of admin stuff before we kind of get into the 1200 stuff. My objective in sharing with you guys a lot of stuff that was going on in my hometown was to get the principal and superintendent on administrative leave. The school board on Saturday voted them to be put on administrative leave until the investigation is completed on whether or not they were, if they're going to be charged as well. So that was done, and that's good. And the community came together, and I did my part by reaching out on social media and doing what I could. So now the investigation is going to continue, especially with the accused and the evidence that was collected there. And then I know that the small sheriff's department in that town still has their hands full, so we're going to let them do their duty, and I'll keep you guys advised as thing goes on. But that went down Saturday morning, right about the time we were finishing the new media show. I got the text that was the vote. So it's kind of like it's like just have a presence and keep monitoring it. Also, Saturday, my son had his middle school orchestra program where we went and he played in 2 different sessions, and it was nice. I live streamed those on Facebook. Some of you commented and watched, so it's kind of cool to be able to do that. The bandwidth stood up, and we were able to live stream for Grandma and the family the concert that they couldn't attend. But also, of course, then Sunday was Mother's Day. Many of you spent time with your moms and were able to go out to dinner or lunch or whatever it may be. A little bit different situation here. Shoko was working on Sunday, and then we kind of had a laid-back Mother's Day, really, here. But was not able to spend time with my mom, was in Michigan. Was able to talk to her on the phone, and she had fun with the rest of her grandkids and my sister on on Sunday as well. So really kind of an uneventful weekend, as you would expect for a Mother's Day weekend where everyone's kind of focused on mom, and I hope you were able to. And those of you that don't have moms, yeah, I understand. Some of you have your moms have passed, and in that case, I know that they were at the forefront of your thoughts. All right, kind of switching here to show 1200 festivities. We got a couple prizes to give away, and we're going to give away 2 crispy $100 bills via PayPal. And in my show prep tonight, I was able to draw 2 winners. The first prize winner is for Toby. Let me see if I can find his email. It's Toby Kinney on his favorite show moment. Now, Toby's out of Denver. And remember, we did a random pick. So all you had to do is kind of submit stuff, a favorite show moment or product that you may have bought because of the show. And it didn't matter what it was. And we did, a random draw tonight. And Toby's the winner of a $100 bill for his favorite show moment. He says, hey, this might count towards your contest. But I love your CES coverage. My favorite is always the last day of CES where your team joins you on set. Love your shows, Toby. Toby, there was no end of show wrap up this year because of the way we changed the format for CES. But big things are being planned for CES 2000. Oh my God, 18? So I think we may have one of those team moments again for 2018. It's going to be a little bit different. But again, congratulations to Toby for his cash prize win. And our second prize winner is Mason. Let me see if I can find Mason's email. Mason says, I haven't purchased much after listening to your podcast, but the big thing might be a Roku. I now have one on every TV in the house. So Mason Manny, congratulations. You are the other $100 winner. And we'll go through some of the other emails that came in for contributions, or basically for the contest, and some emails that have come in at the end of the show today. But you two win those fresh $100 bills. Congratulations to you. And thanks for submitting your entries. And believe it or not, Roku, of all the entries that came in, was by far the number one thing that people have bought from listening to the show. So maybe the Roku folks owe me a few kickers. That chance of that happening. One thing, and I didn't spend a lot of time on this because I've gone over these facts again and again and again and again over the years, and I try to keep a running total, but, the numbers kind of get fuzzy at this point. But, just as a point of origin, typically I walk in here, and now I have I save a little bit of time because of Kirk, the executive producer that's helped me produce the show. He's probably saving me at least 45 minutes, 45 minutes to an hour of show prep. So it used to take maybe 5 hours to put the show together. I might be down to like 4, which is still fantastic. But with 1,200 evenings together, in basically doing this show from either here in the studio or wherever in the world, my family's had a huge sacrifice. Every Monday and Thursday night, this show is recorded. It preempts almost everything that is going on. We schedule everything around it. Very rarely, I'm a little more lenient now if something's going on than I used to be. But they've sacrificed these 2 evenings, and now the Saturday morning show. Of course, most everybody's not out of bed at 6 a.m. when I do the show on Saturday. And then the show I do every other week with Mike Dell with your podcast, which I do on a Thursday morning recording. It's crazy why I do shows at like 6 a.m. When I do with Mike, we start at 5 a.m. my time, which is just insane. But so anyway, 1,200 evenings together as of tonight, with about 6,000 hours producing and publishing this show. And for you, as near as I can figure, with the hour 10, hour 15, about the average, the mean on this, if you've listened from episode 1, you've listened for about 66 days. So I think last year I calculated wrong. So last year it was like 72. And I said, no, that's not right. It's actually 66. But here's even the more amazing thing: about 31,000 of you, maybe even close to 32,000 of you, who have become GoDaddy customers, with over 90% of you renewing your services every year. So for those of you that have purchased a GoDaddy product over the years, thank you so much for supporting the show. And it's pretty amazing that we've been able to continue to hold the line. What it averages out to on a monthly basis, just to give you guys an idea, um, from a performance standpoint, I'm typically anywhere between 200 to 350 new GoDaddy customers every month. That's a pretty typical number. So that gives you an idea. Now, there wasn't that many in the early days, when the audience was smaller. But, as near as I can figure, 32,000 of you become GoDaddy customers over the time. Special media events, NAB, near as I can figure, about 1,200 interviews. Team interviews, maybe up as many as 1,300. I actually got an email from Sam, and Sam had something for me. Sam sent me some cool album art for show 1200. And matter of fact, I need to download that right now before I forget. I should have had that in the in the social post. But anyway, Sam, thank you so much for that. And he's got that up on a Flickr page. I'll link to that. You guys can see all the album art that Sam has created for the show from over the years. But Sam is definitely one of our VIPs here at Geek News Central, and we definitely appreciate everything that he's contributed to the show over the years. I thought there was another email. I think, Sam, you were giving me some advice. Maybe I'll find it in the stack a little bit later. But anyway, this album art will be up in the episode later. But we've really, we've been here. Really, it's a lot of things happen. A lot of things of fate happen. My accident in 2004 of June, where I got hurt really badly in Bahrain. Being in Waco, Texas, when basically locked up in a hotel room, and being in a body cast, and being on the internet, and hearing the Daily Source Code, Adam Curry and Dave Weiner, and caught the podcasting bug, and it really, the book deal, the launch of the Tech Podcast Network, and the book deal in May of 05, and then GoDaddy coming as a sponsor, and GoToMeeting come on in August, and then the launch of Raw Voice, and the Podcast Awards, and Podcast Network, or the PCN network that we started initially, that's now a website at Podcaster News. Then going to CES in 06, and then launching Blueberry.com, and the commerce deals and the advertising in 06, and then obviously the episode 200 still is a monumental episode in this podcast history. It was the day my dad died, and we got literally hit by a train and changed the future of my niece, and that was a tipping point show, that show 200, because I learned at that very moment, for those of you that weren't around, what defined Ohana for this show. Because literally 3,000 to 4,000 emails of condolence came from all of you. I did if I remember correctly, I did a short shout out. There's gonna be no show 200, or maybe it was a blog post, or whatever it was. And then I went dark for 10 days, and I came home to thousands of emails, and it was just like it was like therapy. I know you guys were thinking about me and my family, and show 200 was just so epic. A few years later, retiring from the Navy, and then around show 500, I think it was actually 670 or something like that, we started doing a video, and a whole bunch of stuff in between there. 2015, entering to the Podcast Hall of Fame, and It's hard to believe that I've been retired from the Navy for 10 years. That was such a big part of my life. But here I am almost 10 years. I've been and I was only in the Navy 24 years. So it was like, man, I'm almost halfway into it. It's crazy. It really, really is. And the miles and the demos and the speeches and the meetings and everything that goes beyond this show that I do on a day-to-day basis. Meeting with radio folks, meeting with podcasters, advertisers, working with my team. It's just one big, huge story. And I got to thinking about it the other day a little bit that, and reflecting on, this potential for this 1200 episode. And I said, the history of everything that I have done in the podcasting space is in these 1200 episodes. And if I ever want to go back and write a book about from the start, when we kicked this thing off in '04, all I got to do is go back and listen to the first 15 to 20 minutes of every episode for 1200 episodes, and I can write the history of what has happened in the podcasting space. So, think about it. We're approaching 13 years, and I've been actively involved in the business of podcasting since January of '05. And, man, that's a lot of water under the, that's a lot of water under the bridge. It's huge. And, and I look at our list of supporters: Tony, Michelle, Andrew, Kirk, Bo, Curtis, Helena, Tucker, Jared, Terry, Helena, Stephanie, Caden, Chase, Cohen, Amir, Matthew, Salvador, Terrence, Zachary, DeAndre, Aiden, Heather, Shannon, Steve, Nigel, Jesse, Richard, Michael, Gary, Sandy, Jesse, Eric, Kathy, Tony, Dale, all you folks that are contributing as insiders, and then all of you that have been here for all these years. I know some of you have been here for a couple of years, went away for a couple of years, come back for a few years, go away for a few years. It's crazy. You've been back to the show like 3 times. You kind of get sick of the show. You want to go listen to something else for a few years. You're cool, but you migrate back home. And that's the amazing thing. The emails I get from people like, "Hey, I'm back. Glad you're still doing the show." And it's like they pick up where they left off. So, I never in my wildest dreams when we started this thing, or and I say we because my wife signed off on it. I come home and I'm like, "Honey, I'm doing something new." And of course, I'd had all kinds of cockamamie schemes before, and most of them were like boat anchors. You buy a boat, and every 3 months it's $1,000. I had a few of those, and but never owned a boat. But you know what I mean. And she's like, "You got 2 years, bud." She put a 24-month clock on me to figure out how to make this thing work and make money. And thank God, GoDaddy rang the phone in July of '05 and said, "Hey, Chris called me and said, I want to sponsor your show." And it's been a remarkable ride, and I'm serious when I talk about GoDaddy and being grateful for them. There's no one else, no one, no, of the 325 or 340,000 podcasts. Now think about this for a second. Of the 340,000 podcasts that are in the iTunes directory, which not all of them are active, so maybe 125,000 are active. And of course, they continue to drop shows off the end that haven't updated in several years. But of all those shows, no show in the entire podcasting ecosphere has had the same sponsor since July of '05. No one. Someone said, "Oh, and then when they heard my date, they're like, "Oh, you got me beat." There's a few that have some maybe in '06 starting through now. But for a single podcast to have a single sponsor and keep them happy for all this time is a monumental undertaking. And without you, and without the thousands of you that have picked up GoDaddy products and services over the years, I don't know. Would the studio be the same? Would we still be doing the show? You know, I've always said that I would continue to do the show as long as I had fun, but it's a massive undertaking, and there's very few shows that have lasted almost 13 years. I can probably count on two hands the number of shows that began in '04 that are still here. Now, don't get me wrong, having a company that is 100%, 13 folks that are 100% focused on continuing to grow the podcasting space, that has kept me motivated to keep, the thing is, the show's mine. I own the show. My company, Raw Voice Blueberry, is its own thing. I'm an owner in that, but this is mine. Same with the podcast awards. That's mine and my wife's. So, it's I get up and do this show. I'm happy to put it together for you. And I just want to thank you for being here, all of you for being here for all these years. And I know some of you have been here since single digits. And I'm beyond appreciative of your time, and thanks for being part of the Ohana. So anyway, that's really all I got to say for tonight's 1200 episode. There's a lot of tech to talk about yet tonight. The show must go on, and we could probably sit here for a whole time. But when we hit our October number, we'll spend get a little more deeper into it. But when I hit these milestone numbers like we have today, it just makes me fully realize that there's a formula with this podcast that works. That formula being consistent content, that you guys know how the show's going to be laid out, and it's been successful. Some of we've had people leave, had people come back. Some people have never come back. That's okay. That's what this thing's all about. Choices. We all have choices in this world, and podcasting is one where it's just a conversation between you and I. Because for the most part, many of you are plugged in listening to this alone. So anyway, a shout out to all of you that are plugged in, listening in your cars, in your trucks, overseas, wherever you may be, however you're listening. We have had people listen to the show in Antarctica. There's some pretty crazy, weirdo places. Matter of fact, maybe that's a good thing to do. Where are you listening right now? Where are you listening to the show? Your bedroom, in your car, on the treadmill? Drop me a line. Just let me know. All you have to do is just Geek News at Gmail and, put it in the subject line. You don't even have to put it in the content of the email. Send me. Let me know. Where are you listening right now? And if you're in the bathroom, that's okay too. All right. Thanks so much. And of course, my number one fan, of course, is my mom. So, hi, Mom. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. All right, let's start out tonight. Talk about an interesting story that popped a couple of days ago that I missed. It was over the weekend. Specifically about Gizmodo, how they went fishing with the Trump team. Now, they did what they're calling a security test, and they sent emails to 15 prominent figures on the president's team. They sent emails to each posing as a friend, family member, or associate containing a faked Google Docs link. This was a test of how public officials in an administration whose president has been highly critical of the security failures of the DNC stand up to the sort of techniques hackers use to penetrate networks, said John Cook, executive editor of Gizmodo Special Projects Desk. That's kind of funny. Maybe we need a special projects desk here at Geek News Central. For some of my friends, you're kind of laughing because there's the paradox there. In an email conversation with ours, Gizmodo targeted some marquee names connected to the administration, including Newt Gingrich, Peter Thiel, now ex-FBI Director James Comey, FCC Chairman Ajit Pai, White House Press Secretary Sweaty Sean Spicer, Presidential Advisor Sebastian Gorka, and the administration's chief policymaker for cybersecurity. The test didn't appear to prove much. Gingrich and Comey responded to the email questioning its provenance. And while about half of the target officials may have clicked the link, 8 devices, aka IP addresses, recorded accessing the linked test page. None entered their login credentials. The test could not determine whose device clicked on the link. So here's the situation. They may have broken the CFAA in doing this. Now, if you, say what you must, and I try not to be political here, but there is a concentrated, and the administration doesn't help themselves very much, but there's a concentrated effort by the press to get as much dirt as they can on the administration. There is a mission to take people out. That's pretty obvious. No matter what your politics are, most of you are, yep, they are. But again, like I said, the administration doesn't help themselves at all. They kind of leave themselves wide open here. But this test raised the eyebrows of security experts and some legal experts. That's because despite their efforts to make it reasonably apparent that this was a test, Gizmodo's phishing campaign may have violated several laws, ignoring many of the restrictions usually placed on similar tests by penetration testing and security firms. At a minimum, Gizmodo danced along the edges. To violate the CFAA, Gizmodo would have to have intentionally accessed a computer without authorization or exceeded authorization access to obtain information from a protected computer. The definition of access in even computer is much broader than how most people would typically think of them under the law. So conceivably, anything that returned information from a computer, a web page with scripts that run in the computer's web browser, for example, could be considered access under some circumstances. Gizmodo took some steps to stay within the law. The system they devised for the project disclosed the subjects that it was Gizmodo Media Test at every stage. The initial email and the login page that the email linked to both contained disclosures. We designed a login page so that if a subject entered any credentials, no passwords could be viewed, accessed, intercepted, or retained in any way, which we would know if they entered any characters in the password period, but not which characters. In the test, no subject entered any credentials. So here's the question. If you have an organization that's doing a little test, what happens to an organization that's looking to get a little more dirty and not worried about breaking the law? An operative of some sort. So, with this weekend's and this WannaCry ransomware that's making the rounds, we all should just be a little more conscious of the emails that are landing in our inbox. The battle cry against the WannaCry ransomware continues. In many spaces, referred to as WannaCrypt. And the attack, which started on Friday, locked people out of their computers and encrypts their files, demanding they pay $300 in Bitcoin. A price that doubles after 3 days, but there's been no proof at this point if people pay the ransom if they actually are able to get an unlock key. The ransomware was slowed by a security analyst last week after discovering a kill switch in the code, and he registered this long domain. But they're trying at this point to, it looks like, modify this to continue to go after Windows 8, Windows XP, Windows Server 2013. And if you have a more recent version of Windows and you've stayed up to date on your security systems, you won't be vulnerable. But if you haven't run Windows Update on Windows 10, 8.1, Windows 7, Vista 2008, 2012, and 2016, or Windows Server 2008, 12, and 16, if you haven't applied security patches, you could be in trouble. So if you haven't updated your computer recently, the first thing you need to do is stop listening to this show right now and update your computer. Because you could really be screwed if this thing, if you get an email and you react to it. The folks at the BBC demonstrated what happens when the ransomware hits, and it encrypts your files this quick. And they think that about 200,000 computers have already been hit worldwide. Now, here's the bad part. This was really started when the shadow brokers, the hacking group, dumped a cache of Windows exploits. It exploited, or it pilfered from the NSA. The group had decided to start leaking exploits it stole from the agency after it was unable to find a buyer. So they basically, one of the tools that they dropped was a vulnerability called External Blue. Microsoft issued a patch for that in March, but a lot of people hadn't updated it. And this is the largest ransomware scheme ever seen. And if you haven't patched, you might be locked out of your machine forever. Or out of your files, that is. So if you haven't updated, again, you need to. But, there's a bigger story here, too. There's some information out there that while Microsoft is griping about these, did I just close the page? I think I did. Reopen, close tab. Microsoft was griping about the exploit, and griping about NSA having these tools, but Friday's WinXP fix was built in February. So Microsoft itself, and this is May, February, let's say they did it on the 1st of February, which we don't know, all of February, all of March, all of April, we're at May 15th, so 3 months and 15 days, and Microsoft had exploits that it had patched that it hadn't released yet. Around January this year, Microsoft was tipped off by Person Unknown that NSA's Eternal Blue cyber weapon, which can compromise pre-Windows 10 systems via SMBv1 networking bug, had been stolen. But again, it just goes on and talks about these emergency patches. And folks that got XP were impacted the most. Analysis of the metadata within these patches for Windows XP Server 2003 Windows 8 RT show that they were built on February 11th, 13th, and 17th. So, again, March, April, May, 3 months. So, if they want to complain, we think we ought to complain back to Windows or Microsoft for sitting on these things for so long. So, they're a little bit to blame too, but the majority of the folks that got hacked just aren't doing proper computer, maintenance that they should be. You should have your machine on auto update. All right? Let it update at 1 o'clock in the morning. I know sometimes coming in at 5 or 6 or whenever you get up and seeing your computer needing a login drives you crazy, but it's better than the alternative. Lisa, you're listening from Quincy, laying in bed. It's late. Go to bed. It's almost 3 o'clock in the morning. Barbara, you're up too. Wow. You guys are up late. Go to bed. Go to bed. All right, let's talk about Delta Airlines a little bit. Everyone's gotten in on the, little egg on their face here recently. But here's something that's, how many of you been flying lately? Here's the skinny. Here's what happens when I go to the airlines. And I'm fortunate. I have been, and I don't know if I'm going to make status this year, but I usually fly more than 100,000 miles a year. I'm quite a bit behind this year, so I may not make it. But so having a little bit of status, I roll up, and this is not a lot different than folks that are just doing a general check-in. Like here in Hawaii, you have to run your check bags through a security scanner. That's a little unusual, but I take the bags and I go to the premier desk or line, stand in line, put my credit card in the machine, type in my, usually, where's your destination, and then it brings up my itinerary, and I go through the check-in screens and make sure that my um, seats are right and all that stuff. And I always print my boarding passes in case my phone dies or something. It's just something I do. So, get my boarding passes, put my bags up on the baggage check-in, and they check your ID and bag and tag your bags, and off you go. You go through security. Well, one of the check-ins I did with United recently, I had to put my own, even I have status, I had to put my own tag on my bag. So I thought, okay, I can do this. Follow the simple 3-step procedure. It's a baggage tag, right? Can't be too complicated. But Delta is going to start using facial recognition for self-serve baggage check. So you're going to walk up to drop your bags. It's going to scan your face, and it's going to say, oh, yeah, you are who you say you are. And there's not going to be an attendant there. You're going to do your check-in. You're going to, put your baggage tag on. And then off your bag goes to to be loaded on the airplane. And Delta saves themselves a interaction with a customer, and a customer support person lose his job. So Delta cites wanting to both speed up the check-in process as well as free up their staff to directly assist travelers that need support. Don't be denied here. People are going to lose their job if this thing really works. So I like speed. I like the ability to get checked in and get to my gate. I'm a 2-hour. I always arrive 2 hours before my flight. I don't know why. I just don't like even cutting it close. I know some people like to run to the gate every time. I think it's a challenge. I'm not that dude. So when I roll up, I want to check in. I want to get through security. That's why I get TSA pre. That's why I paid for pre-clearance, all that stuff. But Delta, if they, what they should really do here, if you're a TSA pre-check, why don't they have this set up so that you do your bags, and it's like a little gate opens, boop, you go through, and go right through security at the same next step. Don't go like have to walk a half mile, just like route you through. And if you can get me through check-in faster, I will start flying Delta. If I don't have to stand in any stupid line, that's a beautiful thing. But we'll see where this goes. Some of you just want service, right? Some of you want that person to be there and tell you where to go. And I understand that if you're not flying very often. And Mike is listening from Idaho. Welcome, Mike. Late for you, too. So I am never going to get through all my content tonight. I'm already long. So I'm going to get through what I can, Kurt. I'm apologize, but we're not going to keep people long tonight, okay? All right, Nevada pushes for tighter online privacy protection. Nevada Senate is pushing a bill that will offer consumers tighter privacy protections when they conduct their lives online. The Senate bill requires websites to notify users when their personal data is being collected. If the bill becomes law, the Attorney General will be able to bring actions against online services that violate the rules. Whoa, that's cool. The Republican-led government has been working overtime to roll back and curtail laws providing fair open internet with protections for people's private data. One lawmaker voted to enable ISPs to sell people's private data. Representative Jim Sensenbrenner told a crowd that nobody got to use the internet. In response, several states, including Seattle, have taken it upon themselves to pass privacy protection on their own. Good job to Nevada. There's a great video on Roadshow. It talks about car crashes. It shows 17 years of car crashes, and it talks about how car crashes have improved. And they specifically show 17 years of the Toyota Corolla in its variants, how they've improved in the crash data over the past 17 years. Pretty cool video. Link will be up in the show notes. I have it for you there. If you are rich enough to become a space tourist, get this, you're going to have to wear special socks on high-altitude balloon flights. Okay, I didn't realize they were going to be taking people to space with a balloon, but tourists on a high-altitude balloon flights will get to wear special socks while enjoying the blackness of near space made of non-flammable material to reduce the risk of spark and fire on the balloon and thick enough to keep space flyers' feet warm. You know, really? They're talking about socks? Wouldn't you expect, if you're paying a big amount of money to go up high in the atmosphere, 25 miles or so, and wouldn't you expect like a complete uniform to be provided you, not just special socks? It's a little bit odd to me. Again, must have been a slow news day at space.com. Toyota wants flying cars in time for the 2020 Olympics. Toyota's joined the flying car craze by backing a group working on a drone-like vehicle that would soar 10 meters, 33 feet off the ground, speeds up to 100 kilometers per hour at 62 miles per hour. The SkyDrive is being developed by Cartivator, a startup with around 30 young volunteers working with drone expert Masafumi Miwa from Tokushima University. The aim is to get the car flying by next year and have it commercialized in time to light the 2020 Olympic Games torch. Okay. Good luck getting that one cleared through Japanese safety. Over on The Verge, they've got the official trailer for The Gifted, Fox's new X-Men series. Pretty cool little trailer. I'll have that link up in the show notes. Also, the Google I/O 2017 conference is opening on Wednesday. So there'll be some keynotes there with the CEO taking the stage for the keynote, which will be followed by some developer keynotes and so forth. So we'll see what's announced, see what Google has on the table. And they've got some other events. In March, they've got in March, they had the Google Cloud Next conference. The next one is October-ish after this, where they talk about new hardware. Last year, they announced the Pixel at the October event. So we would expect that there would be some major announcements at this one this week. Probably be talking about that on Thursday. Also, many of you have to brush up on your resume from time to time. And the folks over at PC World talking about resume tips on using style sheets to shape and text boxes for a professional look. So if you're looking at updating fonts and the layout, there's some good tips here. I'm always, I'm a kind of like a palette template type guy. I like to be able to have stuff kind of laid out for me, and I'm always searching for cool doc templates for different types of things. So this is a good tutorial for you that still use Word and are looking to update your resume. I have the link up in the show notes. All right, there's a big scare going on right now that MP3s are dead. Please let me explain. And I wasn't fully up to speed Saturday in the New Media Show. MP3s are going to be around a long time. Just the patent for MP3s is running out. So the licensing agency that was entitled to revenue, they know that. So the Fraunhofer Institute is saying, no more licenses. Well, they want people to switch to AAC because they hold the licensing for AAC, I believe, as well. So MP3 is not going away anytime soon. So don't worry. MP3 is going to be around for many years to come. If it switches to AAC or M4A, That's fine. We'll be able to shift when we need to. I might even experiment and drop an AAC file in on you guys one time and see if anyone even complains and see if there's any impact. It'd be a nice little test to try. But tonight's show is definitely going to be an MP3. All right, next article. A smart exoskeleton can help can keep the elderly safe. So what this is, it's a prototype. A team of Italian and Swiss researchers have developed this exoskeleton. And if you think about this, we're all gonna, be elderly at some point if we make it that far. And we may have some challenges getting around. Hell, I know some people that are my age that have a hard time getting around. My fall off the wall last week is still, I got this big black and, well, now it's yellow mark on the side of my body. But anyway, this new exoskeleton is designed. Okay, yes, I thank you for the ad, PC World. Anyway, they've designed this so it can be put on by a caretaker pretty easily. And what it really does is, with a little bit of training, the elderly person can be assisted in walking. And if they stumble, it kind of helps like correct them so they don't fall over. So it basically can detect when the wearer's gait changes. I know that when my grandfather was in his late 90s, there was a few times where he would get dizzy and have a little bit of problem, and this would be one of those systems that would basically stand him up and keep, he wouldn't pass out, but he'd get a little bit dizzy, and it would cause him to fall down, and he got banged up a lot. And so sometimes just that, momentarily getting him stopped, getting him stabilized, enough to kind of like, whoa, what just happened? And then allow them to continue. This is cool stuff. And it may allow caretakers that are in homes to basically, when a person wants to get up, move around, be independent, they're able to put this on them, a couple minutes to basically strap them into it, and it will help them get around a little bit. And maybe they won't have to be in one of those go-go carts, and they can be up and actually moving around and getting some motor exercise, which will help them instead of having to, sit on one of those electric carts and be pushed around, right, by that. So it's pretty discreet and portable, and it can be used in real-life environments. But it's also being designed for people who are physically impaired and individuals suffering from neurological disorders as well. So this is pretty cool. I'll have a link up in the show notes on this. It's an exciting time. We're going to have lots of cool stuff that is going to help all of us as we get older. Hey, Apple's released a minor Watch OS 3.2.2 update, so I'm looking for some advice. My wife wants an Apple Watch, but she's like, why don't you give me your watch, and why don't you upgrade to the next version, the Watch 2. And I'm, the first, I wear my watch about half the time. And, I keep telling her, okay, you gotta have an Apple Watch. You're gonna have an iPhone, so you're gonna have to switch. She's been planning on doing that anyway. What it is when she's working at the airline, she wants to be able to do stuff with be able to touch her watch and do stuff, look at text coming in and so forth, but she can't pull her phone out. So I think this is a good option for her. I might just give her the watch and forego wearing it. But not often does the missus say, well, why don't you give me yours and just, because I offered, I'll just buy you a new watch. And she tried it on, and the face fits fine on her. And, I said, you might want the smaller face. She goes, no, this is fine. So what do you think? Think I should let her have mine, and then, because I've had it a couple of years, so, and buy the upgraded one? We're gonna spend the money one way or the other, because if I don't give her mine, she's gonna buy one anyway, right? So, interesting. It normally goes, and again, I'm not a cheapskate. I'm willing to buy her one. But, she suggested it. Um, all right, let me move on here. I'm killing some articles we go through tonight. It appears the FCC has been flooded with thoughtful net neutrality comments. But the FCC's only been highlighting mean, yes, angry, mean tweets, meaning that they're basically just, they're kind of ignoring the good stuff. Now, they were really quick to talk about the 25 or 19 letters they got from quote unquote non-profit municipal broadband providers saying that net neutralities have forced them to often delay or hold out the, they real fast to talk about the 17 or so internet service providers that sent them letters, but they only highlighted the mean tweets. None of the actual commentary that was reasonable. So the FCC's received more than 1.5 million comments on Pai's plan to overturn Title II. So 440,000 are identical anti-net neutrality comments, and basically it's form letters. Those bots don't do good, folks. If you're going to send a comment to the FCC, do not use a bot. Okay? Do an original 2 or 3 sentences on why you want net neutrality to remain and why you want Title II to stay in place or not. All right? But the FCC, of course, they've got a campaign. I don't think the comments are going to make any difference. We talked about Maven a little bit. Maven's GM car sharing service is launching in New York City. For those who have already gone insane trying to navigate New York City's notoriously congested streets, I've done it once. I'll never drive in Manhattan ever again. The best thing to do is to park in the Bronx, or there's a place that I know where I can park and then take the ferry over. No, I am not driving in Manhattan anymore. But if you want to, you can get a car from Maven. You can rent for an hour or 2 or a day. They're going to have 80 vehicles available. So BMWs mostly. So I'll link up the show notes on that. Oh, actually, GM wouldn't have GM wouldn't have BMWs. Maven, in which customers can find and book parked cars, says it will have a diverse mix of vehicles, including the Cadillac 65, Escalade, ATS, Buick Encore, Chevy Equinox, Trax, Malibu, and Cruze. Unlike its service in Los Angeles, though, Maven won't be offering any electric Chevy Volts in New York City. Other services like Daimler Chrysler's Car2Go has BMW. So, okay. So GM is, I was like, what? What did I just say? The Verge has a good article on what we want from a Game of Thrones prequel. I won't go into it. I have a link up in the show notes on that. Also, a Lowe's hardware store is trialing ecoskeletons as well to give workers a helping hand. So this is pretty smart. The folks at Lowe's are doing a lot of heavy lifting of lumber and so forth. And the company says feedback in its early use is positive. Employees are wearing it all day, making their job easier. A lift assist, bending over, all that stuff. So exciting times. Redbox's betting DVD rental kiosk are making a comeback. Be honest with you, I'm not doing too much pay-per-view rentals. I watch what's on Netflix and Amazon. I'm not doing. We're still picking up a fair amount of Redbox on new releases. Are you guys not renting as much from Redbox recently? But they're putting out 1,500 new DVD kiosks across the United States, and will add more in 2018. So, the problem I have with Redbox, though, most of the time is I can't get the movie I want. And I'm happy to pay $1 or $2 at Redbox for that, but I'm not willing to pay $5.95 for an on-demand version when I can just rent the DVD and return it. Netflix is also reportedly experimenting with price hikes for the weekend. Now, you're saying, well, what do you mean? I pay on a monthly basis. Well, in Australia, apparently Netflix is doing an on-demand model and they're increasing the price $1 to $2 over the weekend versus what it cost on a weekday. So here in the United States, I just pay a flat rate for Netflix every month. So someone that's in Australia that's listening to the show, please tell me how your pricing for Netflix works there. I would have assumed everyone would have been on a flat rate, but that does not appear to be the case. All right, Audi and Volvo have picked Android as their in-car operating system. So for a while, some of these vehicles would flip between one or the other. But at this point, Audi and Volvo have picked Android. So if that's the vehicle of your choice, that's the operating system you're going to get when you buy an Audi or a Volvo. But you will not be able to, you'll have to, if you want iOS, you're going to have to upgrade your in-car dash system. Google Assistant for iOS launch is expected soon. A new report claims that Google Assistant for iOS is going to take place, maybe announced this week at Google's I/O. So I think we're going to see a lot more of this cross-platform, well, some will call it contamination. But I could see Apple bringing a iOS app of sorts to Android, which I think would be cool, especially if they brought a podcast app to Android. I think that would be awesome. But Google Assistant for iOS launch expected soon. How many of you use Google Assistant? Love to hear your comments on that. Motorola is targeting developing markets with dirt cheap. They're bringing out an inexpensive handset called the Moto C, and they also have the Moto C Plus, very inexpensive mobile phone. It'll feature a 2 megapixel front camera, and it will have a 4,000 mAh battery. And what's it going to cost here? I have a dual SIM. It's going to be targeted through Asian Pacific, Europe, and Latin America. The price will be about, under $100. So, this will probably be a phone that will be in a lot of store shelves as burner phones too. But Motorola is targeting developing markets with this, and it's needed. Developing markets need more inexpensive phones for people that are, not as financially well-to-do as most folks in the United States that are buying an iPhone every year. OnePlus just teased its next flagship smartphone, and the OnePlus 5 shows a horizontal rear dual camera setup. So that's yet to be launched, but the OnePlus 5 is expected to feature a Snapdragon 835 processor. It may have a full HD display with a 16 megapixel camera and probably be running Android 7.1.1 Nougat. So we'll keep you advised on that particular phone if it releases. One thing Kirk is doing, he's bringing me a lot more mobile articles than we used to cover. So if you've noticed that, I have. Chrome OS is experimenting a night mode. Many of you that have an iPhone probably have enabled night mode, and if you haven't enabled night mode with your iOS device, I encourage you to do so, because you can basically change the tone of the light. It's the backlight of the screen. It'll help you sleep better if you employ that instead of looking at the very bright screen. As a reminder, you should try to stop screen time at least 60 minutes before you go to bed to let your brain actually disengage. I have a very hard time doing that because when I finish the show, when I close the lights off and basically hit publish, I'm in bed within 10 minutes. So I don't practice what you preach on show nights. Huawei may unveil a new MateBook on May 23rd. It's been a while since Huawei came out with a new MateBook models, and it appears that the company is going to do that in the near future. So they're expecting a product announcement on next week sometime, May 23rd maybe. So keep you advised on that as well. Facebook is not happy with some of the live stream stuff that's going on. So if you ever run into a Facebook live stream that showed nothing more than a picture, they are fed up. The social network has updated its developers policy to explicitly forbid live videos that are only images. including animated images or polls linked to a largely inanimate material. So when I switch in a screen, they essentially don't want me to stay on the screen too long. They want the live video on. So just be aware of that. So if you're trying to scam the system by putting something on that could just go in a normal post, you may get your account put in suspension. All right. I'm killing articles off as we go here. Hey, SpaceX pushed the Falcon 9 rocket to its limits. They did a launch of the Inmarsat 5F4 broadband satellite today, and it launched at 7:20 Eastern. They got into orbit beautifully, but the lift was so heavy that they were not able to recover the first stage. They had to use all the fuel to get to where they needed to be, and it had to get in an upper orbit. They did a 13,448-pound lift. So that vehicle, stage one, will be burning up upon reentry. No powered return home, no landing. That one will become particles in the atmosphere. All right. United flight crew inadvertently shared cockpit code online. Some flight attendant is in big trouble. You don't need kind of like horrible screening at airports. You just need to post the wrong details on the internet. The Wall Street Journal has learned that a United Airlines flight attendant mistakenly posted cockpit door access codes online. Wow. Well, the Airline Pilots Association says the situation has been resolved. The codes haven't changed yet. Until then, pilots will have to be extra cautious. They're already supposed to look at would-be visitors, but they got a reminder that they can't take a valid code for granted. And I don't know how this actually works. I don't know if they buzz them in or what. But, I would not want to be on that reprimand. YouTube TV has added AMC, BBC America, and more. YouTube's TV streaming service was launched just over a month ago and is limited to 39 channels. Was a clear drawback compared to its more established competitors. But the company is following up with its promises to add more by including 7 more cable networks, including, again, AMC, BBC America, Telemundo. What else did they bring in? They brought in Universal, Sundance TV, WeTV, and IFC. The only one I know in that whole group is AMC, BBC, and Telemundo. I don't know Universo. I don't know WeTV. I don't know IFC. So anyway, they're trying to add to their service level. Anyone doing YouTube TV? Love to hear from you. Some rumor that the iPhone 8 rendering appears to point to a glass back and wireless charging, which would be exciting to see the iPhone 8 finally catch up to Android in that case. Also, Disney is facing ransom threats over one of its upcoming movies. It appears that the latest studio to deal with attack by criminals, Disney. The Hollywood Reporter and Deadline have heard that CEO Bob Iger told Disney employees that a group of hackers claimed access to a copy of one of its upcoming movies, and they're trying to charge a ransom exchange for not releasing it to the public. Speculation points to profile clicks like Cars 3 or Pirates of the Caribbean, which both of those released early would be bad for the bottom line. Also, if you have a rooted Android device, okay, if you have a rooted Android device, some of you root your phones, Netflix will no longer work on a rooted Android phone. And then what they're trying to do is prevent people being able to basically steal and download movies because they're able to alter how the media is delivered. All right, so just be aware of that. Bill Gates met with a bunch of college students and basically talked to them about what careers he would pursue today. And the co-founder is advising artificial intelligence, energy, and biosciences. And he also has a book recommendation as well. What is the book he recommended? And this is all on Twitter. You can read And Gates wrapped things up with a reading recommendation. Steven Pinker's 2011 book, The Better Angels of Our Nature, While Violence Has Declined. Okay. So anyway, if you want to see the full Twitter exchange, I'll have that link up in the show notes. I still think computer science with a cybersecurity minor, or maybe even just, the cyber degrees themselves aren't that great. But if you have a computer science degree, know your way around a Linux administration, and have some cyber training, I think you're like set for life. I really am. You're going to love this. Johnny Depp is going to star in a movie about John McAfee. Depp will play the lead role in a dark comedy about the tech magnate's journey from entrepreneur to fugitive, according to The Hollywood Reporter. Wow. I'm sure this will be a good one. It probably will definitely be rated R. Also, the folks at Lifehacker did an interview with Leo Laporte. It's a pretty good article. Talks about, and it's a podcast released. Talks about Leo and launching his podcast and his network and what he's done. Probably a good listen for those of you that are Twit fans or just want to get a little bit of inside baseball. I love these types of inside baseball interviews. I haven't listened to it yet, so I don't know how deep he goes into it. I'm sure he doesn't share too many secrets. But anyway, link will be up in the show notes. Also, if you use the service DocuSign, they've had a breach. Just be aware of that. You may want to check in with DocuSign to see what's going on. Anyway, I have the link in the show notes on that. All right, so let me go through. So I'm done with the content, and I dropped about 10 articles tonight. Let me just go through a few of these emails. Got an email from Michael. He says, Todd, I had to be early 2006 when I started listening to your podcast. The youngest was just 2 and already trying to help you set those volume level dials. And you were living in the other place. Yep, I was still on historic Ford Island, and shared the Blue Man story. I remember where I was at the time. You soon after shared how the same son could watch someone type a complex password, then he just rapidly copied the motions and gain access. Yes, my little hacker. Don't ever stop sharing your life. I'm sure I would have stopped listening long ago if I hadn't connected with you through the common experience. Of course, this is Michael Dare. And early on, you were so self-depreciating, saying you didn't have the right of vocal pipes or audio fame. Look at you now. I still don't have the pipes, Michael. Who would have thought you'd still be going strong all these years and shows later? Another quick, memorable show was one that you recorded when you were too tired to not properly pronounce words. I kept rewinding and scratching my head. What in the heck did he just say? The story caught my attention, but you left me, and I'm sure many others, hanging. Yeah, I've done that before, gone like halfway through an article and then just dropped it and kept on moving. That's what happens when you're, most of you, please understand, those of you that are new, I start my day usually at 4 or 4:30 in the morning. It is now 9:22 in the evening. You guys do the math. There's not very many podcasters that do their show like 15 or 14 hours later, right? He says, yes, I use your GoDaddy codes and share them, but the most expensive thing I ever bought after watching your coverage of CS was that motorized little dinosaur who did a list of activities and made cute sounds. I spent $400 on Pleo and used it for entertaining family and friends. Here's another $1,200 more. Am I going to make $1,200? You're not young yet, as long as you stay off the 10-foot walls. That is the truth, Mr. Fixer. Okay, let me go through here. Let's see, what else have we got? Dennis, I have 2 things to say about this podcast. The first is you were wondering why Tesla would oh, I already read this. Okay, so this is, okay, Michael, we talked about your Roku. Let's see here. And we got a lot of comments about people that remember losing my father. And I got some listeners thanking for podcast legends. And what else? I gotta keep going back here because I've got people intermixed with regular comments. Um, Sam says your trips to Albuquerque have caused me to purchase more burritos from Golden Pride and Frontier restaurants. Absolutely, the Frontier. Oh, that burrito there. Man, man, we got to figure out how to get those delivered via dry ice. Another thing Sam said, enjoy your telling stories about the Blue Man and the UFO you saw. I know that is two separate moments, but I enjoyed hearing those stories. Yeah, two UFO sightings and one Blue Man story. Of course, stuff being knocked off the wall as well, right? So anyway, bunch of other comments. Most folks saying Roku, again, Blue Man story, the UFO stories. So everyone, thanks for sending in your comments. We definitely appreciate it. And again, congratulations to our winner today of two winners of two crispy $100 bills delivered digitally via PayPal. So the two winners, send me an email, or I'll send you an email and then let you know you've won. And you send me your PayPal address. And if you don't have a PayPal address, I can send you a check too. But PayPal just makes it easy, and you won't have to wait for 3 weeks for me to remember to write the check. But everyone that hung out all night tonight with me, thanks for being here. Mike, Gerald, Lisa, Clint, all you folks, thanks for hanging. And I'm punchy. It's already late. I got started late. So let's get out of here. I'll see you on episode 1201 on Thursday. Everyone take care. Geeknews@gmail.com is the place to send your email comments. And don't forget to support the sponsor, GoDaddy.com. And big thank you to all the insiders. Everyone take care. We'll see you next time here on the Geek News Central podcast. Aloha. Well, YouTube had some issues. I wonder if my youngin